him 3.5 years to convince you to marry him because you were already a complete woman. Well, I was always going out there trying to find the right husband to help complete me. And I say when I'm, speaking many times that I was always a half person looking for a half person, kind of like this hole in my soul, and trying to create one person. And then my catch line there is that two dinglings do not always make a bell.
I love that. I love that. That's great. I love
Right?
that. I'm gonna keep that line. I like that one very much.
Yeah.
You
And
know, it's true because it's funny because I was raised by a mom who did not work, um, but the from an early age, and you're right, your beliefs are there from the age of 3 to 5, and they are deeply embedded. But I can tell you that I remember sitting on a riding with my mom on a bus. I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old, and saying to her then, "Mom, I'm never going to get married." And who knew that a 5 or 6 year old even knew what being married was? But I said to her, I'm going to have a career and I don't want to get married. And she just looked at me and, I'm sure she humored me because I was always coming up with things. But that's really how I felt. And I went all through school, all through college. I mean, I dated all the time, but there was no intention of ever getting married. So, it is. I think it shows up early on. But you also talk about something which is really important to me, Connie, and that is, and something that I have learned, had to learn, and I've only learned it, I would say, really only learned it in the last 2 or 3 years, and that is forgiveness. That has probably been one of the most healing things that I have learned, and that is learning to forgive people because I did hold a grudge against certain people and certain things. So, what was your aha moment when you talk about forgiveness?
well, I get that, I ended up with a lot of bitterness and, like I said, blame for others. I had shame, but I also wanted to try to place a lot of that onto other people, and that resentments are just that expectations are premeditated resentments, and that I was harboring a lot of ill will toward many people. But I realized, Gail, that some of my old beliefs about the religion that I grew up in, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with organized religion, it serves many people. And the faith, though, that I had this belief that God was the only person that could grant forgiveness, and that your parents would tell you to say, tell people you're sorry, and but that ended up being kind of a hollow answer, a response to people. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Go hit something, like a child hits somebody. Go tell them you're sorry, and and that really didn't do the trick for dealing with this as an adult. And I was in some self development work. I like to say that I'm not broken and I don't need fixed, and I'm just this big piece of stone, and I'm just chiseling away at all of these walls and these stories and beliefs that I've put up to guard myself from being hurt. And but and because I couldn't forgive myself was the first thing, but also that I didn't know that I could really grant forgiveness, that I was like trying to play God if I was going to forgive someone else. And this one particular instance, someone said, well, Connie, what's your definition of forgiveness? And I don't know, I guess I said something like, well, just letting somebody off the hook. And he looked at me and he said, no. He said, forgiveness is giving up the right to punish. And it was profound for me because everything in my life I realized was in being right or wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. Or you're right and I'm wrong. And and now I go, there's no rights, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. It's just a way of looking at things and the world. And when I quit blaming other people for what happened one time, because something happened one time, and I've kept all of that pain and suffering alive in my mind by rethinking it constantly. And it's just given up my right to punish myself and other people for what I think has happened to me.
Well, I think it's interesting, because it is amazing how people can be brought up in very similar situations and yet have totally different reactions. So, what would you say that is the one thing that you've done recently that you were scared to do, and that if people knew that you did it, they would say you were crazy, but you did
Well,
it
it's
anyway?
where I'm, well, it, well, they say that about a lot of things. And they, where I recently met you out in San Diego at this event, and I signed up to participate in a mastermind, in a big mastermind, and with a huge investment in myself. And people are going to, say, well, God, that's a whole lot of money to invest in yourself. And the point where I am right now is, though, the cost of not doing it would be greater to my aliveness and to my vitality and to my joy than not doing so. And, if I chose to play small instead of getting out there and living a regret-free life. And it's,
That's just about it, Connie. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I like the way you put it. If I did not invest in myself to grow the life that I want and live a bigger life, it would not be a regret-free life. And that's what I think our listeners need to think about. And it doesn't have to be a huge investment the way Connie did. It could be any investment. And it could be an investment in a new friend. It could be an investment in a book. It could be an investment in just a whole bunch of things. It doesn't have to be a huge monetary investment, but you need to look at things as if it's investing in yourself. So first of all, before we run out of time, how can people get a hold of you, Connie? Where should they look for you?
well, they can go to my website, which is conniequeen.com, and they can also email me personally, which is connie@conniequeen.com.
And that's
And I'm
CONNIE.
CONNIEQUEEN. I'm the queen of love and relationships.
There you go.
Yeah. And I do post every day on Facebook. I like social media, and Facebook happens to be my favorite avenue there. And I have a fan page. It's called Connie Queen's Fan Page. And every day I post their inspirational sayings, photographs, and thoughts to help people live the life that they want to live.
Well, that's fantastic. So you can go to conniequeen.com, which is her website. You can email her at Connie, and that's CONNIE, at conniequeen.com. And she does have a lot to share with you about relationships, about dating, about forgiveness, about mirror work, all of these wonderful skills and techniques that I think if you begin to use them, you're going to feel a whole lot better about yourself. And you will be doing what this show is all about, living regret-free, which is something that's so important. So, Connie, this has really been an interesting conversation. First of all, I thank you so much for opening up about yourself and what you've been through and your journey. And I know that that has helped our listeners because, of course, everyone believes they're the only ones going through it. So I want to thank you so much for being with us today. And I certainly look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
Thank you so much, Gail, for this opportunity. And just remind you and myself and our listeners to loving yourself and thinking joyful, happy thoughts is the quickest way to create a wonderful, regret-free life.
Amen. I agree to that.